Hello and welcome back to my channel, The Curious Coder. A few weeks ago, I made a video on pagination, sorting and filtering. There we built an employee dashboard step by step using just a single API. We started with the most basic functionality of fetching all the employees, but there was a limitation to it because we couldn't show such large data on the screen at once. So we added a pagination logic to it. Okay. Then we extended it with sorting so users could sort by different fields. And finally, we introduced a search bar where the user could type an employee's name and our API would filter results accordingly. So the beauty of our approach was that all of this, pagination, sorting and search, worked seamlessly just through a single API. Okay. Now in this video, we'll take this one step further. We'll add filters based on multiple columns. There are actually two ways we can approach this. First is using a single search bar where the user can type both name as well as department in one bar in one field, and the API will consider both these columns. Okay. The second approach is that we can have separate filters for all these columns. Like we can have one for ID, one for name, one for department, and we can even have a date range for the joining date. Alright. So to implement this in a clean and scalable way, we'll be using JPA specification and criteria builder. Now this video is a continuation of the earlier one, so I recommend watching that first if you haven't already. Still, in this video, I'll give you a quick recap of the previous video before diving into the core logic. Okay, so let's get started and see how we can make our API much more powerful. So first, let me quickly give you a recap of what we did in the last video. We created this API getEmployees, whose initial purpose was to fetch all the employees from the database, but then step by step we kept on adding the pagination, sorting and filtering logic in this API. Okay, so how did we do pagination? We use this interface pageable, okay, which takes two things, page number and the page size, and both these things we get as a request parameter in this API. Okay, then we have sorting logic here. For this we use this class sort, which also takes two things, sort by and sort direction. So in sort by we pass the column name on the basis of which we want to sort our data. So it could be ID, name, department. Okay, and in the direction we pass on the direction. So the order by which we want to sort, ascending or descending. Okay, and then we have this search parameter. So this is used for the filtering logic. So I pass this search here, and if it is null, that means we want to fetch all the employees, and if it's not null, that means we want to fetch employees of a particular name. Okay, we have done filtering on the basis of name. So you can just assume that there is a search bar in the employee dashboard, and in that search bar, the user who is using that dashboard is trying to pass the name of the employee. Okay, so if whatever string value that he will pass in that bar will be coming in this field, and that on the basis of that I'll filter here by the name. Okay, now let's say that instead of just passing the name in that search bar, the user might also want to search by department. Okay, so we have a single search bar, but in that particular keyword he might be sending a name or maybe a department as well. Okay, so we have to apply that thing now in our dashboard, in our API logic. Okay, so what I'll do is we'll go in a different direction. We'll be using something called specifications. Okay, and why? Because it's a very clean and professional way of writing all this code, because it might be possible that instead of department, like as of now I'm only talking about two things, name and department, but there could be multiple columns as well. Okay, and we want to give functionality for all of these. So in that case there would be multiple if else blocks here, which I don't want. Okay, so that's why we have a very good solution, that is specification. So how we do that? I'll just simply create a package, specification. Here we can have a class employee specification, and in this class we'll write all the logic. Okay, so we'll have a method public static specification, let's say of employee get specification. Okay, I'll name it something like this, and in the argument I'll pass the search keyword. Alright, So this is where we'll write all our filtering logic. Okay, so now what is specification? So this is an interface. Okay, it's a functional interface. So by functional interface, I mean that it has only one method that is not implemented. Okay, this method, to predicate, and it takes three arguments: root, query, and criteria builder. All right, so we'll be giving an implementation of this method in this get specification. Okay, so don't worry about the syntax. You'll understand the syntax. It's not that difficult. Okay, just focus on what we are trying to achieve. Okay, so I'll just have to create an object of this specification, right? Because we are returning this specification in this method. So to create an object of an interface, of a functional interface, we'll also have to give implementation of the unimplemented method, right? Because otherwise, how will you create an object of an interface? Okay, because there is one method that is unimplemented, so you will have to give the implementation. So this is where we'll write all the logic. Okay, so this is how we work with functional interfaces. You don't have to worry if you don't know about all these things, but it's quite simple. Okay, we just write new specification, and in these parentheses we have to basically give the implementation of the unimplemented method. Okay, so in to predicate method we have three fields: root, query, and criteria builder. All right, so what's root? Here we pass the entity, okay, which in our case is employee. So anything related to employee will be fetching from this root. Okay, all the fields and all the columns. Then we have this query. So this is the database query that we are trying to build, and we have a criteria builder as well. Okay, so what's a criteria builder? All the conditions that we want to give in our query, that we build using this criteria builder. Now what are conditions? Like the where conditions. Okay, we have a query, for example, select star from employee where name is equal to something or department is equal to something. So these conditions will be building using this criteria builder. Okay, so let me show you how. First, if search is null or search dot is empty, then this means that the user has not passed anything in the search bar, and that means that we don't want to do any kind of filtering. Okay, so for that we'll just simply return criteria builder dot conjunction. Okay, so this means that we don't want to apply any filtering logic, so they have a method for that, and it will just simply return, and it will return all the data. Okay, now one by one let's build the two conditions that we want to add. So for that I'll have a list of predicate, and in this list I'll add all these conditions. Okay, as of now we only have two. All right, so what will be the first condition? So in this list, let me add it as well here. So I'll build using this criteria builder. So we have criteria builder dot equal method. Okay, so what I'm saying is that whatever we have in this search bar should be equal to the name. Okay, that is the first condition. So how will we get the name? We will do root dot get, and here I will pass the name. Okay, and this root dot get name should be equal to this search. Okay, this is how we create a condition. All right, we have a list of all the conditions, and in the list the first element that I added using criteria builder. I called the equal method that says that the name should be equal to search. Okay, and how am I getting the name? This I am getting using this root. Okay, so we do root dot get, and here I'll pass the name. Okay, similarly we have another condition, list dot add, again criteria builder dot equal, okay, root dot get. This time we need the department, and here again I'll make it equal to search. Okay, so whatever keyword we are getting, we want it to be equal to name or we want it to be equal to department. Okay, so as of now we have defined two conditions, where name is equal to search and where department is equal to search. Now what I want in the end is that I want a OR function of these two criterias. Okay, because what is the complete query? Select star from employee where name is equal to search or department is equal to search, right? So we want a OR of these two conditions. So for that also we'll use criteria builder. We have another method dot OR, and here I'll just have to pass it like this, list dot to array new predicate 0. Okay, this is the syntax actually. All right, and I'll just simply return this. Okay, yeah, so this is the complete implementation. Don't worry about the syntax. It's not something that you have to learn by heart, but you should just understand that what exactly we are trying to achieve. So this criteria builder is creating all the conditions. So here we have created the conditions, and condition is that name should be equal to search and department should be equal to search. And these two conditions we are performing an OR operation on these two conditions. Okay, so this makes our query equal to select star from employee where name is equal to search or department is equal to search, and that's exactly what we wanted to achieve. Okay, so now as of now we have built a specification. Okay, but we have not used it in our JPA. Okay, we have not used it yet. So how will we do that? First thing that I need to do is this employee repository extends JPA. I will also have to make it extend JPA specification executor. Okay, and here I will pass employee. Okay, so this is something we need to do so that we can use the methods of this interface as well. Okay, this find all method we'll try to use. All right, and in my service class now I'll not write all this logic. Okay, I'll not take if and else conditions. What I'll simply do is that first let me call the let me get the specification. So employee specification dot get specification, and I'll pass the search keyword. Okay, so this will return a specification of employee spec is equal to this, and I'll just simply use employee repository dot find all, and I'll pass the spec as well as pageable. Okay, we have this method in this JPA specification executor. We have this method where we can pass the specification as well as pageable. Okay, so as of now we have the pagination logic in this pageable object, and actually we also have the sorting logic here as well. Okay, we have this sort logic, and this we passed in this pageable only. Okay, here, so we have all the pagination and sorting logic here in this pageable, and we have all the filtering logic in this specification. Okay, we can just simply call the find all method, and I'll just return this. All right, so okay, so this will return a page and we want a list, so I'll do get content. Okay, so this is the complete code. Now one thing that I could have done different was that instead of giving the sorting logic in this pageable, we can also give the sorting logic here. Okay, that can also be done. As you can see that we have not used this query, right? We have not used this query as of now. This is because that can be used for giving the sorting logic, because this query has a function. I'll show you query dot order by. So this order by means sorting only, that you'll order by your data. So this we can use, and we could have provided the sorting logic here as well, but I don't prefer that because it's also very simple using pageable. Okay, we just have to write this and we can pass it in the pageable object, so we can do it like this. Okay, so anyways, now I'll run the project. Great, so it started on 8081, and you can see that, let's say I have a search keyword Eve. So if I hit my API, okay, I think it's on 8081. Yeah, so you will see that we got a page number 1 and page size is 10, and we are searching on the basis of Eve. Okay, so we only have one entry against Eve. Also, I want to show you something, that in this video I have actually changed the data. Alright, so don't get confused by that, because I have changed something in the database. So again we have 25 entries only, but the names might be different. Alright, so these are the 25 entries, and against Eve we got one entry that we got. Now instead of Eve, I can also pass the department name here. Alright, I can pass it something like this, finance. So you can see we got all the entries of finance, right, like the first page of that. So this is what we achieved using this specification. Now in a single search bar, we can either pass the name of the employee, and we can also pass the department of the employee. Okay, so it's searching on both the fields in the SQL query. Okay, now let's say I want to change the filtering logic a bit more. let's say instead of actually matching the columns, we are just trying to do something like that. Let's say if I pass something like FI, so anything that contains FI, like the department or the name, that entry should come. Okay, so as of now it won't come because it's doing an exact match and there is no name against FI and there is also no department against FI. But I just want that if I want to search for finance and like the user does not remember exactly, okay, he just remembers something like FINAN. So the user types this and then also we get a result. So that can also be achieved in this criteria, in this specification. Instead of equal, what I'll do, I'll just write like. Okay, so as you know, we in SQL we have a like condition as well. So the query will be select star from employee where name like this and where department like this, and in like we add this percentage as well. So that means that I want this search to be just present in that string. Okay, it could be in the center or it could be in the start or it could be in the end. Okay, here also I'll do the same. All right, so we have, instead of equal, we have used like now, and I'll just change it. Great. Now if I rerun, okay, so now you can see that we got all these entries because I typed FINAN and this department contains FINAN, right? We got all these entries, and let's say I will just use a single keyword. Let's say I typed H. Okay, so you see we got HID as well because we are searching on name as well. Okay, and we got HR as well because in the department, in this department we have H. Okay, so we got these multiple entries. Now here we have again it's HR, so we have H, so like this. Okay, so these are some functionalities that we can give in our dashboard, and this is how we can implement those functionalities using this JPA specification. All right, now let's take a different case. Let's say instead of a single search bar, now we have multiple search bars for each column. Okay, we have one for ID, one for name, and one for department. And we also have a date range specified for the joining date. Okay, so how will we handle this now? Because now we have different filters, right? Earlier what we did was that we had a single search bar, and in that we allowed user to search for name as well as department. But now things are different. Now we have a designated search bar for each column. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, in this API, now this single key won't work. Okay, because we have multiple filters, right? So we will have to define a key for every filter. So it will be like long ID. Okay, long ID. Then similarly, we'll have to define it for other parameters as well, right? Like this, we can have a string name. Similarly, we can have department. And since we have to provide a date range, so we'll need two more fields. One will be the start date. Okay, start date. And there will be an end date as well, right? So these are some parameters that I will have to add in my API, and using all these parameters, we'll apply the filtering logic. Okay, so now this single search won't work. I will have to add all these things. All right, so I'll just add it here one by one. We can have ID, we can have name, we can have department, and start date and end date. All right, and one more thing, I've kept all of these as false because we are giving an option to the user, but it's still his choice that whether or not he want to apply that filter. Okay, and you can see that we have, see, now we will have multiple combinations. It might be possible that there is a filter applied for ID and for department, but no filter applied for name or these date ranges. Okay, and similarly it could be like we have one for department and for date ranges, but not for ID and name. Okay, so there can be n number of combinations, and that's exactly why we have used specification, because if we would have done it the old way, like we were doing that if search is equal to null, then we were just finding by name. But now how will we know that? We'll say that if name is null, then find by id plus department plus start date. But if it is if only department is and name are given, then we will have to write another if block that if for id, start date and end date. So I'm talking about the conventional way, the way that we were doing it earlier. So then in this service we would have a lot of if else combinations. That's why we use specification. In specification, how we will do this, that we'll just look out for which field is null. Okay, we'll just say that, let's say if name is null, we'll pass all the fields here. So if name is not null, then we'll add it in the criteria, and if it is null, we'll not add it in the criteria. Simple. This is how we'll work. We won't have to make multiple combinations. We'll just have a null check for each of the field, and whichever is not null, we'll keep on adding them in the criteria. Okay, so that's why we use specification. All right, so let me change the code a bit. We will have to add all these things, id, name, department. So here I'll add long id, long string name, string department, then we have date, start date and date, right, date and date. Okay, and in the get specification also we'll pass all these things. So we'll pass id, comma name, comma department, start date and end date. Okay, similarly here we'll have long id, string name, string department, start date and end date. All right, so we'll have all these things. Now one by one I'll just add them in the criteria. Okay, so how we'll do this, we have a list of all these conditions, right? So first, if name is not equal to null and name is not empty, let's say. All right, so we'll just add one condition for the name. Okay, and how will we do that? Like this, we want to add an equal condition, or maybe okay, we can have a like condition. Let's do it equal only. Let's not get make it that much complicated. So it's an equal condition if root dot get name is equal to simply name. All right, so this condition is only added in the criteria if the name is not null. Okay, similarly we can have it for all these fields. I'll just copy paste like this, like this. So we have if id is not equal to null and let's say id is not empty. Okay, so it's long, so we'll just check if id is not equal to null, then just add the id, and here I will add the id. Okay, similarly if department is not equal to null and department dot is not empty, then also we'll add department here. Okay, so root dot get, I think it's dept. Yeah, in the employee class, let me just verify. Yes, actually we used dept earlier also, and department here. Okay, so we have added these three conditions. I'll remove this. Now what about the date range? So if start date is not equal to null and end date is not equal to null, if both are not null, then only we'll have this criteria. So I'll just use criteria builder dot greater than. Okay, so we'll have to, this is greater than, so what should be greater than? Root dot get joining date, right? Okay, let me just verify the exact name. This is joining date. Yeah, root.get joining date. This should be greater than the start date, correct? And all right, so it's asking for two things: extends number. Okay, and there will be a criteria builder dot and that says criteria builder dot less than. Okay, so it's actually I'm using this, have to use less than or equal to this. I'll just write it completely, then you'll understand. Okay, dot, this is also greater than dot equal, greater than equal to. All right, greater than or equal to. Yes. So let me just explain you what I did here. It's not that complex. We have an AND condition here because we need to check whether joining date is greater than the end date, right? So joining date should be greater than equal to end date, and also it should be less than equal to the start date. So we have made two conditions here. Correct. This is one condition, that it should be less than greater than start date, and this is another condition, that it should be less than or equal to end date. And we have an AND of both these conditions. Okay, so because we need both these conditions, right? It should be greater than and it should be less than. So both these conditions we put together inside this list, okay, with an AND operation, right? So this is the whole logic, and all these conditions, now we want an OR operation of all these conditions. So our query is something like select star from employee where name is equal to this, or ID is equal to this, or department is equal to this, or now that will be an AND of start date and end date. Okay, in that last OR we will have a combination where we are saying that joining date is in between these two. All right, so this is the whole criteria that we made, and all this criteria is based on one condition, that whether that field, that incoming field is not null, then only we will add these things in the criteria. Okay, so this is how it will look like, and it's actually, if you will see that the code is very clean. We are just checking that if it's not null, just keep on adding them in the conditions. All right, so let me just run my code. Okay, it started on it81, and instead of search, now I will have these different fields. Okay, so let's say I search only for ID as of now, so ID 8. All right, so I got this entry ID as 8. Now I'm saying name is let's say Hidi. Okay, and actually we could have done it both ways, like we can have an AND or. So actually yes, no, we have OR only. I'll show you what I was saying. So in the end we have OR. So what do I mean by OR? It means that now it will search for either ID is 8 or name is Hidi. So it's the same value, but I'll just change it to, let's say, name is Eve. Okay, like this. So you see we get two entries for the Eve, name as Eve, and for the ID as 8. Okay, similarly, let's say if I add something like this, if I add department as, let's say, HR. Okay, so we'll get all the entries that have department as HR, and the entries which has name as Eve, and the ones which have ID as 8. Okay, so you can see that we got all the entries for HR for this page only, of course, because we also have pagination, but you can see something like this, right? Similarly, we can have a start date and an end date as well. Okay, start date, so let's say it's 2022 01/01, and there's an end date that says 2024 01/01. Okay, so we can also define a start date and end date like this, and we'll get all the entries in between these dates. Okay, so I think the date format is not right, so I'll not go into changing all that. I mean, we just have to change, we have to specify the format like DD, MM, YY and all these things, but don't worry, it will also work. Okay, so this is how we can have multiple filters in our API, and we can use all these in a dashboard, and we can perform all this action with just a single API if we properly implement the filters. Okay, and specification is a very good way of implementing all this. All right.